Hello everyone, and welcome to my Days of Our Lives Today channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Kristen has Rachel hidden somewhere in her absurdly enormous house, and everyone knows why. She wants to renegotiate the custody agreement, but can't find a lawyer to represent her. However, on Days of Our Lives during the week of 7 to 10/23, Marlena advised Brady to give in because denying Rachel access to her mother is not in Rachel's best interests. This has to be the worst advice ever offered by Salem's top mental health expert. Belle was directly behind her, implying that Brady might lose a new custody battle because Rachel escaped from camp while in his care. To summarize, Kristen has spent her whole life in and out of prison, and she has a history of attempting to kidnap Rachel in order to use her as a pawn to compel Brady to reunite with her. But Brady may lose custody of Rachel since he sent her to a sleepaway camp that let her disappear. If anything, the fact that there's cause to suspect Kristen is behind Rachel's disappearance strengthens Brady's case for keeping them apart. Brady, this is a ruse. It's just another ruse to get me to reconsider the custody agreement. That's all there is to it. Marlena, I see what you're saying, but the issue is, Kristen currently holds all of the cards, and if you do something stupid, she may just pick up Rachel and flee. Brady, do you really want me to give in to this evil woman over again? Marlena's second assertion, that they aren't looking out for Rachel's best interests if they don't give in to Kristen, is rubbish. Days of Our Lives maintains the notion that children are always better off with both parents, which ignores Kristen's role as a toxic parent who has been manipulating Rachel for years and poisoning her against Brady's new partner. It is not in Rachel's best interest to have more than brief, supervised meetings with Kristen, and Marlena should know that as a psychiatrist. And, as for the possibility of Kristen departing with Rachel, doing so would just bolster Brady's argument that Kristen was responsible for Rachel's disappearance. He'd have indisputable proof Kristen had abducted Rachel, and it'd be more difficult for Kristen to hide her daughter if she wasn't in that big mansion full of secret rooms. Again, whether in a bear costume or not, the Salem PT should have been able to tell Rachel apart from a stuffed animal, and Marlena should have recognized a child-sized bear in the tunnels. So maybe Marlena is correct that Rachel may vanish forever if Kristen is pushed too far. Even though he did it in the most idiotic way possible, Brady did the right thing by refusing to give in. He should have signed the papers, waited for Kristen to bring Rachel back, and then ripped up the contract once he had his daughter back. Given their staffing shortage, I believe the Salem Police Department can be excused for its normal incompetence. Jada was left to work every case by herself after Sean was suspended and Rafe was sacked earlier in the week. There are several uniformed officers in the background, but no other investigators, and Jada may have been rushing to her next case. That could explain this one's lack of attention to detail. Jada could have been obsessed with her inability to locate Abe alive. Steve, John, and Lani have finally realized that Whitley is responsible for Abe's abduction, and Lani believes he is still alive. But no one in authority knows what's going on. That's not a promising sign. If the few individuals who suspect Whitley is involved in Abby's disappearance lack the authority to arrest her, she is more or less free to continue. Lani hurried to Whitley's place to save Abe, who was in a medically assisted coma and dreaming he was a body and soul figure. Her desire to help her father is understandable, but she appears to have forgotten that she is no longer a cop and will be returning to prison in a few hours. Lani should have phoned Jada along the way, at the very least. If Abe cannot be removed from the situation before she returns home, she will require assistance from someone with the authority to stop Whitley. Whitley and Jerry blamed each other for the incident, but did Steve believe Whitley? She had no convincing explanation for why she hadn't come forward about Jerry's alleged stalking of Abe's hospital room until now, and it should be evident she made this up on the fly when cornered. Whitley is also on the run, since she told Steve she's leaving town and has no explanation for why she's abandoning her job. In addition, She claims to have no money to pay her expenses. So where does she obtain the money to travel? Steve appears to have bought into her BS since he went directly to Jerry's to confront him. As a result, this saga is likely to stretch on even longer. Steve and John would most likely hand over Jerry to the cops, stunned that there is no sign of Abe in Jerry's flat, while Whitley will arrive home in time to prevent Lani from rescuing Abe. Lani is wearing an ankle monitor because she is on leave from prison, but if Whitley removes it, it will appear that Lani has opted not to return and is hiding elsewhere. Of course, this will draw additional police attention to Whitley, as cops are unlikely to shrug their shoulders and let an escaped prisoner vanish into thin air. However, it is Salem, so you never know. Let us hope that this is the start of the end of Whitley's reign of terror. Abe's actions are unexpected. Because he has minimal memories, he may not recognize Lani and be hesitant to accompany her, figuring she may simply revive him from his Whitley-induced sleep. He may believe Lani is just another person paid by Whitley to act as a family member and resist being moved by her. On the other hand, because his dream about appearing on Body and Soul featured bits and pieces of his past, he might wake up with more memories. The soap within a soap also paid homage to Jackie Harry's iconic first appearance on 227 and continued to lampoon soap operas in general. But enough already. Let's bring Abe back home and healthy so he doesn't have to rely on Body and Soul to trigger his memories. Lani's argument with Jerry gave her the opportunity to ask the audience what they were thinking. Why did Jerry agree to this crazy plan? She didn't want to hear about his grandmother's condition from him. She was curious about what happened to her father and why Jerry was involved in faking Abe's death. Although it was unfortunate that Whitley sought to pin the entire plot on him, no one forced him to comply, even if Whitley had done a favor for his grandmother. Jerry should be arrested for fraud and lying to the police. Will he get away with it because Whitley was blackmailing him? Sean's alcoholism story had the quickest turnaround ever. Did it even qualify as a narrative? Sean reappeared after being absent for several weeks, well into full-blown alcoholism. He rapidly got himself into problems and realized he needed assistance when his poor behavior got Rafe fired as well. The lightning fast pace does not help this badly written plot. This is comparable to Jennifer's pill addiction story, which comprised almost completely of her sitting in a rocking chair holding a bottle of pills, with no on-screen explanation of how things had come to this point. Sean's transformation made as much logic as his spiral into addiction. He attempted to leverage Rafe's friendship with Jada to persuade Rafe not to suspend him, then swiftly backed down and promised to be discreet, only to be left with a heavy burden of guilt when the new acting mayor overheard and dismissed Rafe. In that case, why did Abe ever pick this guy as his running mate? Clint represents everything that Abe opposes. He's haughty and arrogant, and he uses his position to make life difficult for those he dislikes. Sloan might as well have been Abe's running companion. We don't need yet more individual to declare that Channel should be penalized for getting away with defending herself against the wife of the sexual predator who used her. And a white guy telling the former governor-elect's black daughter that she and her mother are criminals who have wrecked Salem and should be thrown out of town isn't a good look. Is there anyone left within the fanbase who isn't disappointed in Leo? He began as his normal keen self, but he rapidly succumbed to Dimitri's charms, abandoning his best buddy for no apparent reason. Dimitri understands what buttons to press to obtain what he wants, but it's still not enough. Even though most Salem males appear incapable of resisting sexual solicitations, Leo shouldn't have been so weak-willed. Dimitri is bisexual and is attracted to both Gwen and Leo. I doubt he has deep feelings for Leo. He just wants him to keep Gwen from learning about the inheritance deal. Meanwhile, Marlena deprogrammed Harris, convincing him that Megan, not Lee, had directed Rolf to brainwash him. I'm not sure why that surprised anyone. You can't brainwash people without Rolf, and Leigh has no idea how, or he would have convinced Gabby she was in love with him long ago. Harris pushed on going to Bayview. and Marlena eventually caved. I'm not sure how I feel about that because it opposed her expert judgment of what he required. Harris should not hide in a mental facility because he is afraid of being swayed towards bad behavior. However, this will put an end to him attempting to rebuild his life and people saying he is still terrible. Lai should also face punishment for conniving with Megan. After all, Rolf didn't choose his name out of a hat to serve as a scapegoat, and bringing Rolf back to Salem. Instead, the cops let him free because Harris stated that Lai was not responsible for the brainwashing, and Megan has fled on a submarine and cannot refute this claim. Wendy's disdain of Lai's actions is the only portion of this story that makes any sense. I'd love for Wendy to be free of her brother and return to showing herself to be a highly capable expert, but it doesn't appear to be in the cards. Wendy dashed home and made an instant decision between Trip and Johnny, ignoring the guidance Lai could not provide her. This brings an end to this tedious love triangle, at least for the time being. However, before we arrived, Steve gave Trip some ludicrous advice about battling for Wendy. While Steve's suggestion that Trip go after what he wants 100% of the time rather than having regrets had logic, he also encouraged Trip to refuse to respect Wendy or her boundaries. That's bad counsel, and I'm glad Trip called him out on it, and Kayla suspected Trip wasn't interested in Steve's viewpoint. Wendy, on the other hand, understandably would not want to choose a man who frequently canceled their dates to be with someone else. Channel is having a difficult time, but is Johnny her only friend? Why can't she find comfort and support from others? This appears to be a young adult version of the Eric/Nicole farce. Eric is also constantly supporting Nicole as a friend, only to realize he has deeper affections for her and split up with his current partner. Thanks for watching if you like this video. So please don't forget to subscribe my channel and don't miss any update.